Things have taken a scary turn for the New York Islanders at the World Hockey Championship as a key player has been injured, continuing the Islanders' terrible luck with injuries this season. We're going to break it all down on this episode of Islanders Digest, but before we get into that, be sure to subscribe to the channel. We noticed that 80% of you are not yet subscribed to the channel, so if you're an Islander fan, you want more Islanders content just like this, be sure to subscribe. Or I guess not just like this. Ideally, we would like to have a lot less injury content than we had this season, especially considering we only cover the end of the season. The channel's just getting started. We're getting closer and closer to 1,000 subscribers, but this news today is definitely not what we want to have more of. Stefan Rosner has confirmed with the Islanders that Bo Horvat sustained a lower body injury at the World Junior Championships playing for Hockey Canada, and he's returning to Long Island to see a doctor for further analysis on how serious this injury is. And the first takeaway of this is just, this is an absolute shame. Bo Horvat was playing really well in this tournament, but more importantly, you never want to see players get injured in any case, but especially when it comes to these tournaments like the World Tournament, you don't want to see it, and it's definitely not ideal for the team. Now, we're not going to completely freak out about this injury news. So right now, we don't know how severe this injury was. In fact, up until recently, it was really hard to tell even if Horvat was injured when it came to the World Hockey Championship. There was not a lot of information out there. He apparently left the game in the second period of their 2-1 shootout loss to Finland, and he didn't play in the third period or overtime. Kristen on Twitter commented that he had a really tough shift where he threw numerous hits, took a couple hits, and he had a couple awkward falls and did not return. And considering this is a lower body injury, my biggest concern is definitely that perhaps this is something maybe with a groin. We saw how difficult it can be for a player to recover from a groin injury this year from Anthony Duclair, but we're not really going to speculate on what this injury is, and hopefully, considering that this is the offseason, this is not going to be a big deal. Bo Horvat has a long time to heal from whatever injury this is. Hopefully it is minor, and as Stefan Rosner has said, he's been working really hard to try to get more clarification on what this situation is. Obviously, Islander fans are very concerned. Bo Horvat is a huge player, especially for the Islanders, a team that has struggled so much with offense all season long. We've seen how much the Islanders struggle when one of their key forwards, being Bo Horvat or Mathew Barzal, are injured. This year, Mathew Barzal missed most of the season due to injury, so now it's just even more unlucky for the Islanders that now Bo Horvat is injured. We do have to hope that this is not anything too serious. Again, especially considering this happened at the World Hockey Championship, there is a likely scenario where Bo Horvat is just taking things extra cautious, not trying to risk pushing something a little further. Perhaps this is a type of situation where if this was something that happened in the Stanley Cup playoffs, he would fight through it. But since it is something like the World Championships, he's not going to risk it, as he shouldn't. The World Championships are great for hockey. I do want to say that, and there's been a lot of tweets talking about how this is terrible and how teams should not let players play and stuff like the World Championships and the Olympics because of things like this, especially with so many players getting injured in the Four Nations face-off. And first of all, I want to say, this is good for hockey. Not the injuries, but like players playing in these big games are good for hockey. It grows the sport, and frankly, injuries happen. It's just because this happened in this game doesn't mean that there's anything wrong with these world tournaments. Personally, I still think it's actually really good that Bo Horvat played in this tournament. It's unfortunate that he got injured, and hopefully this is not a major thing, but it makes sense why Horvat wants to play in this tournament, trying to build his case to play on the Olympic team along with Noah Dobson. Bo Horvat and Noah Dobson are the only two players who have been playing for the Islanders in this tournament, and frankly, we haven't been covering it too much because it can be really exciting to watch younger players play in this tournament. And in fact, a younger player who definitely will be on the Islanders' radar is getting a call-up because of this injury to Bo Horvat in Porter Martone. Now, we're not going to talk too much about Porter Martone because he's expected to go around the top 5 in the draft, but while he was one of those contenders for that first overall pick, he probably is not good enough to really be in that conversation. With the Islanders having first overall, it doesn't really make sense for them to draft Porter Martone, especially with the top 2 picks being Schaefer and Misa, and then third overall, being James Higgins, the Long Island native. The Islanders probably are not really going to consider Porter Martone, while another team might have him as a dark horse. But that is one positive out of this. But the thing that Noah Dobson and Bo Horvat were getting back on track, we're coming to see this in this tournament. They're trying to make the Olympic team this season. And you see a lot of players who don't always play in these world tournaments playing this season. Again, we haven't been covering it too much, getting back on track, because, with Bo Horvat and Noah Dobson being already established players, there really isn't that much for them to improve on their game in these tournaments. Although it always is good when there are no injuries involved for players to really play with some of the best players in the world. We really saw that Brock Nelson kind of gained a little value from being a part of that USA team, showing that he can play at such a level, which really worked out for the Islanders. In this case, hopefully Bo Horvat's injury is minor, but before he did get injured, he had a really good showing in this tournament. I think Islander fans were a little excited about this. Even though it's Bo Horvat, you already know what you're getting. It doesn't really matter that much. I mean, Bo Horvat had 8 points in this tournament, 4 goals, 4 assists, looked absolutely dominant, playing on a power play, playing minutes with Sidney Crosby. It was really exciting to see from an Islander fan. Bo Horvat really showing what he can do when paired with top players, as opposed to on the Islanders, where there just aren't that many offensive talents, especially with players like Mathew Barzal injured this season. Noah Dobson also had a pretty good showing at this tournament. He had 3 points in 6 games and really has looked good defensively from the looks. I've only seen clips of the tournament. I haven't been watching the whole thing. But from what I have seen, Noah Dobson has looked good. Again, that does not make a major impact on Noah Dobson's contract negotiations. Although I will note, a lot of Islander fans on Twitter were pointing out that it was pretty funny that Noah Dobson and Bo Horvat were all of a sudden scoring a bunch of points on the power play, especially after the Islanders' power play was basically dormant all season long. It was kind of funny to see that they can perform when playing with better players. And perhaps, if anything, this is a takeaway from Noah Dobson, that perhaps you can't just look into his power play points this season. Although in reality, this tournament, while it does mean a lot for Bo Horvat and Noah Dobson's bids to potentially make the Olympic team this upcoming season, really doesn't have that much impact on the New York Islanders. I guess you can say Noah Dobson's kind of showcasing himself a little bit if they do want to explore a trade. But the bigger concern with this is definitely Bo Horvat's injury status. First of all, you never want to see a player get hurt, but this is also a player that we've been talking about recently in trade rumors. Can that affect that? And more importantly, I don't think this is going to be something that serious, but we're going to have to keep up to date on what these injury updates are, because if this injury is more serious than we're anticipating, could the Islanders potentially start next season without Bo Horvat? Not trying to jump ahead there, but if there is a situation where this injury is more serious than we are kind of anticipating, that can be a major blow for the New York Islanders season, because as we talked about, this team does not have a lot of depth on offense. And frankly, going into this season, I don't believe they can survive an injury to either Bo Horvat or Mathew Barzal in any capacity. If either one of them misses significant time, it is going to be a disaster for the Islanders season. So that is definitely something we are going to have to look into as the season gets closer. Again, I don't think this is too serious, but until we get further information from the Islanders, this is all we know at this point. Again, Stefan Rosner has been trying his best to get more information. The team has been tight-lipped so far. Canada didn't say anything about what the injury was, so we're definitely going to have an update on that in the coming days. Until then, if you haven't already, be sure to subscribe to the channel. My name is Patrick Nilan. This is Islanders Digest. Let's go, Islanders.